the month after I came back, ChatGPT launched. And so the whole world changed really quickly. And Des, my co-founder, came to me a weekend or two after and said, hey, the AI group, they think that there's something interesting that can be built here. We realized we could build an AI thing that would do service instead of humans. And the more we pulled that thread, we were like, holy shit, this is going to disrupt
your entire business.
Exactly. Everyone who sells seats to humans that do service are in big trouble.
Welcome to The Peel. I'm your host, Turner Novak, founder of Banana Capital. Today's guest is Eoghan McCabe, co-founder and CEO of Intercom and Fin, the AI customer service company.
I left the CEO role in the summer of 2020. Frankly, I thought the company was about to be sold.
This was an extremely candid 2-hour conversation on how Intercom was one of the first late-stage software companies to successfully re-architect itself to be completely AI native.
We had 5 quarters of sequentially declining net new ARR.
They also just announced they've built their own customer service focused AI models, and Eoghan shares why most software companies will have to do the same.
When you own the full stack, it allows you to be a lot more nimble. Apple own the hardware, the operating system. They even own the chips. It just allows them to be a lot more fluid.
We also talk about the future of software, what he learned coming back to run Intercom a second time.
And you'll never have worse regrets as a founder than if you make mistakes and you went against your intuition.
Why many AI companies don't actually have negative gross margin despite the popular narrative. How Intercom and Fin built the first outcome-based pricing model for AI.
We messed our pricing up so badly in the past.
Why it's so much harder for customers to buy AI software.
You used to be able to sign in to the new app, look around and say, oh, it works, it looks great. You can't do that with AI.
The importance of branding new AI products.
If you heard that Cisco are making the most interesting AI coding platform, you would say,
I would say there's zero chance.
It's probably not true.
And we get in the wayback machine, talking about the pain raising Intercom's initial $1 million seed round and how venture capital has changed.
It was a Skype call. It was 26-year-old me, 12 guys in suits.
A quick thank you to Eoghan's co-founder, Des Traynor, for his help on this. And a reminder, I publish 2 episodes of The Peel every week, exploring the world's greatest startup stories, just like this one. Tune in next week for a conversation with Dan Fader, who runs private market investing at the University of Michigan's endowment. Let's talk to Eoghan after a quick word from Ramp. If you're running a finance team, you know how much time gets wasted on expense management. Chasing receipts, categorizing transactions, waiting for expense reports, it adds up quickly. Ramp handles all this automatically. Ramp is a corporate card expense management platform that over 40,000 companies like Shopify, CBRE, and Stripe are using to streamline their financial operations. But here's what makes their corporate card different. Every transaction gets automatically categorized and matched to receipts. No more wondering what that $47 charge was 3 weeks later. You can set spending controls, get real-time alerts, and even block certain merchant categories. That sounds pretty cool. It's like having a finance team member embedded in every purchase. The platform integrates with your accounting system and ERP, so everything flows through without manual data entry. Whether you're issuing cards to a few employees or managing spend across departments, Ramp gives you visibility and control without the paperwork. Stop chasing receipts. Check out ramp.com/thepeel, get $250, and see what a corporate card can actually do for you. Time is money. Save both with Ramp. Eoghan, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Did I get it right?
Did.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. We were just talking before we started recording that I was trying to get the pronunciation right.
Good job.
But I'm excited for this. You are the founder and CEO of Intercom. Right. You're probably one of the only later stage, larger software companies that has basically gone back and completely reinvented yourself to be kind of AI first.
Right.
I'm just kind of excited to kind of spend the next hour and a half-ish just talking about it.
Cool.
So going back, I don't know when you usually like to start that journey, but when, like, kind of past couple of years, how things been going?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff I want to give context on. One is just the general market at the moment. I mentioned to you earlier, like late stage software is actually in trouble. Look up your favorite large SaaS business that's public, and you will see consistently declining revenue growth.
So there are some that are declining.
Well, declining net new ARR. And then in the last quarter, a number of big names went into negative net new ARR territory. So the ARR is now decreasing. So just to kind of set the stage that like late stage software, the kind of wind is just not there anymore that was propelling it.
Do you know what's causing that?
I actually don't. I wish I didn't bring up this topic because I now I look like a fool, but I don't
going
know.
on. You know that it's happening.
It's happening, and it's somehow connected with, like, somehow SaaS and software has gone stale, and the midwit explanation would be AI, something AI.
Yeah,
but I don't actually see that. But there is something common amongst these companies that are not doing so well, which is that they are, it's hard to see the relevance in the age of AI. A lot of them don't have a story for how they are relevant in the future. It's not yet the case that vibe coding has eclipsed the value of traditional software development such that all of these SaaS tools are just no longer valuable because they're commodified.
Commoditized, I think that's the word.
Okay,
maybe.
Well, let's just keep both of them in
we'll
there
roll with it
for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true because vibe coding's not quite there yet. It's just vibe still.
Yeah, I think many people have kind of made the observation. It was like, have you seen any actual in production vibe coded apps that are more than just a screen or two?
But it's adding efficiencies, etc. But so I don't think it's that. But there's just a lot of loss of energy. I mean, maybe it's that everyone has all the software now. Like, certainly all these software categories, they're not new anymore. AI came around at the same time that these categories all became super mature. If you look in any software category, think of like an Asana. Like, I don't follow them closely, but I'd be in a tough spot if you asked me, how should they innovate in a major way? Like, what's new there? Like, these companies, even Intercom's been around 14 years. I think Asana's been around 15, 16 years. I just feel like probably the juice has been squeezed out of these categories. That's what I think.
Because like everyone has all the features. Everyone is like kind of
I think
competing.
That's kind of it. Yeah. I think that's kind of it. And certainly we came out of a period post-COVID of really, insane fake growth. So there's a rebalancing in some ways. And a lot of companies have been shedding the fake users and revenue that they won in 2021 and a little bit of 22. So it could be that, a bit of a combination of the categories are all super mature. There's not a lot of opportunity for innovation anymore. And these companies have been slowly shedding the crappy revenue they won in the post-COVID sugar rush. Maybe that's it. I'm sure some smart analysts have a better narrative, but the reality is it's happening. Yeah. And it really feels like late-stage software is kind of in trouble unless it can find an AI story to help it be relevant in whatever comes next.
And is it because people are adopting and using AI in a way that's kind of net new compared to just a new?
No, it's more what I'm saying is that for whatever reason, I've attempted to give two reasons, and maybe both of them are not true, but for whatever reason, late-stage software is slowing down, and I don't see it. And it's not about, I'm almost certain it's not about to just accelerate just building more software. What's going to be required is that the people playing in those categories need to figure out how do they get disrupted by AI and build that
themselves.
Correct. And that takes us to our story, which is what you asked me about. I was just trying to set the stage for what's happening more broadly. So
was there a moment when you realized this? Or
but it's a combination of things. So, the story kind of starts almost in 2019. I got sick in 2018. I much later found out it started when I got a tick bite in the summer in the start of June 2018. And so I was super sick. Some days, couldn't get out of bed. Some days couldn't really see. It was wild. And then revenue started to slow because we made some pricing mistakes, chiefly because I was sick, frankly. And then I was super unfairly attacked in the press, and in my sick and deflated state, didn't know how to defend myself. And so by the time early 2020 rolled around, I was just done with being a software CEO. and really down on myself and was ready for a change. So I left the CEO role in the summer of 2020. And I promoted someone internally to be CEO. Frankly, I thought the company was about to be sold. There was two big companies that approached us at the time. So I thought I had played it excellently where I left and wouldn't have to work in the new company.
To do that. That's pretty smooth. Yeah, that was
it didn't
good.
quite work out. Then I thought we were going to go public. We had a date in 2022. Is that right?
Oh, wow. Do you remember a rough date?
Yeah. I want to say it was something like the 15th of July, 22. Yeah. It was the summer of 22. But at that stage, the entire of the technology market had, in technical terms, shit the bed.
Yeah,
and
it's a pretty technical term.
Many had dropped like 90%. Many great names had dropped 80%, 85%. So the IPO market was closed and frankly just really reopened. And so I was just unhappy with how the company was performing for some couple of years. We didn't agree with a bunch of different decisions, but I was on the outside at that point. And my critique didn't find any purchase with the board until the company started to perform so poorly.
Did you start to go through some of that, like mature, cresting?
Yeah, but in a really dramatic and violent way.
Oh, really?
Like some of these companies that are finally now seeing negative net new ARR and negative ARR growth, they evidently took a lot longer to come down from the 2021 highs.
Yep.
But we really fell off a cliff. And it was because we just had a really dilute strategy, didn't know who we were. And the revenue growth we enjoyed in 21 was really a lot of cheap expansion that we kind of begged, borrowed, and stealed. We were very aggressive with our customers and kind of upsold them on the things they were already buying rather than paying careful attention to what they really needed in the future. And so I feel like the combination of everyone pulling back from all software, but particularly that software which they didn't absolutely need, contributed to our precipitous drop. So we had 5 quarters of sequentially declining net new ARR. I came in at the end of the 4th quarter. And
this is 22?
This is 22, late 22. And so the company was in a bad spot, like a weak dilute strategy, didn't know who it was anymore. Even the culture was weak, revenue falling off a cliff. And I went back with a lot of personal energy to kind of, right the wrongs I had seen over the years, but also with the moral authority, both as founder and as the new CEO who came in when the company was in a trouble spot to make a lot of changes. And so part of the secret of our success and the dramatic pivot we made is that we had to make a big change. And I don't want to discount the value of the decisions I did make. It still takes bravery to bet the company on wildly new things and turn off revenue and make all the wild changes I made. But I do want to emphasize that we didn't have a choice. Whereas many other companies, big names who, like I keep saying, now are experiencing negative ARR growth, they were doing okay. They were doing even good enough. And so they had more to lose. So it was those two things. And then the month after I came back, ChatGPT launched. And so the whole world changed really quickly. And Des, my co-founder, came to me like a weekend or two after ChatGPT launched and said, hey, the AI group, we already had an AI group in the company, says that they think that there's something interesting that can be built here. And we didn't even use the word agent at the time. Agents have got cool in the last 6-9 months, but we didn't say agent. But we realized we could build an AI thing that would do service instead of humans. And the more we pulled that thread, we were like, holy shit, this is going to disrupt
your entire business.
Exactly. Everyone who sells seats to humans that do service are in big trouble. And so we both needed a new vehicle for growth in the business, but also saw significant threat. And that together was an opportunity for us to jump on AI and kind of, that was a short number of years before we end up now where, we're in the service AI business where, quickly we'll be in the customer AI business. We'll do more than service. But amongst, say, service AI agents, whether you look at the incumbents like Zendesk or the startups like Decagon, we're the largest by revenue, largest by customer count, number one in the benchmarks, performance benchmarks. We win 100% of bake-offs against our direct competitors. We're number one at G2. So I just want to emphasize that the pivot was not only dramatic, but to our relief and surprise, like insanely successful. And so we're still in the process of processing that because it kind of crept up on us, even in the last 6 months, how well it worked out.
And so you win 100% of the deals that you go up against
with any of our direct competitors. These are bake-offs where it's us versus, say, 2 or 3 other CS AI agents. And the customer will either run them all head to head, do like an A/B test, or have a batch of questions and run through them. And Fin consistently beats the others in terms of the percentage of the customer queries it can successfully resolve. And of course, we got to keep that up. And so that's part of the adventure of
that's high
AI.
Stakes.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't stop. And so we could talk about that separately if you're interested. But the whole world of software development has very much changed, the pace and intensity.
And one thing that you said when we were talking beforehand, you mentioned that basically AI is going to be better than humans at pretty much everything.
Right.
It's kind of one of those things. It sounds like a very loaded take, but also actually very down the fairway, like no doubt, like software's always better than humans.
Right.
Is there a certain timeline you kind of think through of like how that will evolve in certain areas? Maybe customer service you're most attuned to, but
it's definitely happening today in a very real way. And it's just going to continue bit by bit. And then one day we'll wake up and we'll realize that all of the hardest work is actually being done by AI. It's going to be extremely gradual. So gradual such that, like I said, very real, economically valuable work is being done today by AI. I'll talk about customer service in a second, but look at Waymo. It's real. It's all AI, and it's better than humans. It crashes substantially less than humans. The drivers are infinitely less.
They're perfect. They're whatever you need from them.
Imperfect. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
For women who don't want to be in a car with a stranger, Waymo. For people who just want quiet time, Waymo. Privacy, Waymo. They want to make a business call or they want to sit with their loved one, Waymo. I mean, it's really crazy. So whether it's driving safety, personal safety, privacy, peace, consistency, I mean, it's just better. There are some ways in which it's inferior, it's kind of slow, et cetera, but these things will get solved. But it's better. And so customer service, for example, on average, it takes a human service rep 9.8 minutes to close a ticket. And on average, they leave customers waiting 102.8 minutes before they start to respond.
So it takes them 102.8 to respond, and then within 9.8 minutes, they
Correct.
close. So it takes almost 2 hours.
Correct.
It takes
Correct.
110 roughly
Correct.
to get through it.
Fin, our AI agent, is essentially instant. It's not instant because there's some back and forth. You're going to chat with it, clarify some questions, but it's basically instant. AI is better than humans. Or you take Fin answering a really high value question about pricing. It's always going to give the same answer. Or Fin needs to look up some highly sensitive data. It's always going to follow the procedures. When you ask humans to do repetitive work that they hate, they make mistakes. I mean, all humans make mistakes regardless. But when you ask humans to do really inhumane and inhuman work, they're going to fuck up many times. AI is just better than humans. Not in all the ways today, but when you can apply it to work like this, it just ends up being better. And that's one of the really interesting things about AI. Like, we think about it as this efficiency thing. Like, oh shit, all the humans are going to get replaced because it's cheaper. It's not just that, it's better and it's faster. So we joke, and we had a short-lived ad campaign that said, better, faster, cheaper, pick 3.
Usually you can only pick 2, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And that is how deeply, wildly transformative AI is.
And it's one of those interesting technologies where cost curve coming down. I think if you're using the most recent models, maybe that's like not quite true, but generally trending downward. But then also it's getting better over time. Like, right. I think there's this classic with like, internet connectivity, it doesn't really get
or
faster.
Moore's law.
Or yeah.
Oh, you're saying internet connectivity doesn't really get faster. Yeah.
Or like with cloud. It's like with the cloud, It's like the cost came down, but you didn't like get better cloud. Like it was just like you're in the cloud and it's there. But with AI, it's getting cheaper and better at the same time.
I think it's having multiple plateau moments. So I think it plateaued for a little bit, and maybe it's going to like accelerate again. But yeah, we all imagine that certainly it's about to get significantly better. I don't try and predict that, but like probably it will. But yeah, I think you're probably right.
How have you guys approached that then with building out the product? Like, how do you do the trade-off of, oh, it's not quite here, but maybe in 12 months it will be, because that's kind of in the trend? How do you think of that when you're building stuff?
Like for us, we like say with OpenAI, with their chat technology or image generation, people are delighted for it to do the best it can, because the best it can is pretty great and it didn't exist before, even though it's imperfect. With Fin, with an agent that you're going to have to talk to your customer, like best effort's actually not good enough. It's not okay for you to ask as an end user, an agent, for help with resetting your password, and it pukes up your credit card number in plain text, or it refunds, or it deletes your password. I'm making stuff up here that's kind of facetious, but it's not okay for a best effort estimate. Today, and I promise I'm not using this as an opportunity to pump and promote Fin, but I tweeted that we are now doing 1 million resolutions a week, which equates to 6,533 humans. And I asked ChatGPT to visualize that so I could have a nice little graphic for my social media post. And it was like, no problem. And it put on the top 6,533, and then a bunch of human icons. And I'm like, what? And I counted it, and it's like 400.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, I saw the tweet. Yeah. I was like, this doesn't look like 6,000 people.
That's what my joke was too dry. My joke was too dry. I said, here's its attempt. And that's okay. We laugh at it. But if it does that with your customers, it's not funny. So we have built a very complex system that uses many models to only get involved when it is highly confident it knows the answer and can help. And as such, we're not on the bleeding edge of any one model, whereby when that one model gets dramatically better, we get dramatically better. And this is the misunderstanding between these cutting edge AI application companies. I think it's certainly the case for us that they indeed are not GPT wrappers. It sounds a little defensive when I go and say that, but it's, I think, close to maybe a dozen models of many different varieties from different vendors and with different configurations, just to make it highly competent at serving customers.
Well, yeah, you're not like a GPT wrapper. You're like a GPT Optimus Prime or whatever. Like it's like multiple, all woven
something
together.
Something like that. Yeah, but there's many other types of models, and they're not just, old LLM. There's a lot going on there, including some of our own LLM technology or machine learning technology.
So you've experimented with some of your own models?
So we're working on that. And, by the time this is out, we will most likely have announced that we have made significant advances with our own models. They'll be the world's first CX models, proprietary CX models that do the type of work they do, trained on proprietary CX data. And we're quite confident that they're not only going to increase the performance of Fin yet again, help us continue to beat our competitors in those bake-offs, but also allow us to own the full stack. When you own the full stack, it allows you to be a lot more nimble. Like Apple own the hardware, the operating system, the iMessage app, the iMessage protocol. They even own like the custom emoji things, as bad as they are. They own this whole thing, and it just allows them to be a lot more fluid. They even own the chips that these things run on. And so when you're not held back by third-party vendors, you can move faster and get ahead of the game. And so we're excited about being able to do that too.
Because that's kind of been the current, like meta around all the everything AI is that all the values accruing to like certain layers. So if you don't have something in that layer, you miss out on capturing a lot of the value.
Well, I think that if you rely on the generic models, you are subscribing to eventually becoming generic. And so I think that unless you have your own innovation and your own technology, you can't get beyond that. And like you said, indeed, the value will go to layers in the stack where the innovation is, and we'll get to a point where it's not the base level models anymore.
So do you think, I guess first off, any software company, you need to reimagine yourself for AI. Do you also need to start training your own models then, most likely? Or
I don't know. Like there's so many different types of software companies, and there's software companies that serve older, esoteric industries that probably aren't in a rush for AI. And then there's industries or areas where the AI is just not that obviously valuable right now. Like for customer service, everyone saw that coming. But I will say that if you buy the idea that AI will eventually eat all white collar work, which it seems to be good at, then it's going to disrupt most software, because most software is built for adding efficiency to white collar work. Most business software.
But when somebody hears like all these the model companies, like I look at OpenAI, and if you kind of like take the current narrative, is they're spending billions and tens of billions of dollars to train and run these things.
Right.
Isn't it super expensive, or is it not as expensive as people would think?
Certain types of AI work is not as expensive as you might think, but some of it is, and it has required that we've had to, allocate significant parts of our balance sheet to it. But it's not the tens or hundreds or billions that get thrown around, at least for the type of work that we're doing.
Yeah, I guess part of that too is like if you kind of go under the surface a little bit, it's like Microsoft's not actually giving OpenAI $10 billion. It's giving them credits to run ChatGPT, which is like, people pounding that all day, every day. It's like one of the most frequent kind of use cases. And it's just cloud cost or cloud spend essentially at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's where a lot of the magic and innovation is happening in AI at the moment. It's at runtime.
So did you, when you kind of decided, okay, we need to just rip everything out and start over, like what was the process? Just like, how did you figure out how to approach this and what to do?
Well, I had the great benefit of being an outsider because I was chairman of the board, but I wasn't in an operating capacity. So, as an outsider, you can make all of these broad statements that on the ground are not true in 10 different ways, but at a high level can be powerful and quite meaningful. And, the things I saw from the outside were that we needed a lot of clarity in our strategy. We needed a lot of focus in our company and strength and resilience in our culture. We needed to be a lot more customer oriented in our commercialization strategies, not force everyone to talk to sales. Our pricing was super complex. And so I came in with a lot of those ideas written down. I had a form of a manifesto and a 10-point plan that I acted on. I haven't had that clarity since. Once you're like in, the trenches, then it's all gone. So I'll never be as effective and as strategic a CEO as I was before I was CEO again. It's just a tricky thing. That's why breaks are so important for leaders. Even one day away for me, I find that like, damn, I get so much clarity that I didn't have when I was just smashing my head against the wall. You see that a lot with young leaders. I made that mistake too. They're just grinding 7 days a week, every week of the year. And it's actually quite difficult to have clarity on what the most important work to do is if you're doing it. Anyway, so that was part of it. And then the other part was, I went in deciding that I was going to very much bet on myself in a way that I hadn't in the past. Like obviously I had in a very practical way when I co-founded the company. But, it's easier when you're younger to question yourself when there are smart people around you coming up with, like I said, those 10 reasons any given decision might be bad. And so sometimes I'd hesitate on decisions. Sometimes I'd kind of like scale down decisions. And
this was back in the 2018, 2017
exactly.
version.
Yeah, before Intercom started in 2011. So I had a big, long run before I left. And, I did what I see so many CEOs do, which is just try and satisfy multiple stakeholders and play it a little more safe. And I just decided to never do that again. And, I now make rash decisions and, go with the first idea that came to mind. And I've learned that most of those decisions are really good decisions. Probably a bunch of them are not, or probably they could be optimized if I like sweat over them for 2 more weeks. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe they'd get worse. But now I'm just making mostly fast and loose decisions. The hard decisions I'll procrastinate on, and then when it's like overdue, then I'll make the fast and loose decision.
You just should have done it 2 weeks
exactly, prior. Yeah. But I really have found that there's a lot to be said for founder intuition, because the intuition contains so much, tacit, practical, undefined, undescribed understanding and knowledge that goes a long way. And so when I'm talking to young founders now, and I was speaking to one yesterday, and she was trying to land on a name for her company, she gave me a list of 10 names. She said, what do you think of these names? Such and such a name is my favorite, but a number of people have said it kind of has negative connotations. And I'm like, if it's your favorite, it's your favorite. Choose your favorite. She's like, oh yeah, you're right. She needed that like little bit of push. Just like, go with your gut.
Yeah.
Fuck the midwits. They'll always have all these reasons your strong ideas are wrong. And you'll never have worse regrets as a founder than if you make mistakes and the mistakes are someone else's idea, not your own. When you like went against your intuition. Time and time again, great artists and creatives and interesting people, they got the right idea, but they don't fucking lean into it. So that's one of the big things I learned anyway, was to bet on my intuition.
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of run into similar things actually, where it's like you didn't fully execute on, or didn't fully lean all the way into the thing that you thought was right, or like you took someone else's advice on something that maybe they don't know what they're talking about, or they're more removed from it.
Or like they're very smart, such that they are absolutely not wrong with their criticism, but they don't have the broader insight that you have that tells you that the criticism doesn't negate the power of the insight. Like you as the founder are the insight holder. You're the one that has to keep that flame alive. That's not their flame. And so actually having these conversations can be very helpful. They can help generate ideas for how you can improve your flame. I'm like stretching the analogy now, but allowing them to smother that flame that you were excited about, it tends to be a bad idea in my experience anyway.
And you were initially, I know you just mentioned like a little skeptical about AI just when it first kind of hit. Was there a kind of evolution? Was it talking to the team that was like, oh, maybe there's something here? Or did you still push back a little bit after that?
I just have learned to be skeptical of all hype. And even still today, there's a lot of AI talk that is kind of propelled by groupthink and FOMO. Like a lot of people talking about the power of AI. Like you'll see these, right? You see these posts on social that says, holy shit, I just started 10 companies and made $50 trillion over the weekend.
The vibe coded app.
Yeah, by asking ChatGPT this one fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like
the power of AI.
Yeah, you're like, the power of AI. Read this 15-part thread.
And then sign up for my course. Or
exactly. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
And obviously mine was like silly and facetious, but they're like they're sufficiently believable that everyone else is like, oh shit, everyone else is doing cool things with AI. And if I am not also,
you're going to get left behind.
I'm going to get left behind. I'm going to look like a loser.
Yeah.
So I better say some cool stuff about AI.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. And as transformative as AI is, and I'm certain it's more transformative. I believe it's more transformative than the internet. Our current understanding of it, I'm also quite certain, is quite infantile and is bolstered by a lot of hype. And so that's all, I just felt the hype and I'm like, wait a sec, let's see what this can really do.
So you mentioned something that was interesting. You said that you think that AI is going to potentially be more transformative than the internet. Why do you say that?
Just because it's flagging itself right now as like a really big deal, bigger than cloud and mobile, I think. Has the potential to do actual work. That's a new type of thing. It's a new type of technology.
Yep.
And always at the start of these new big deals, by default, we underestimate their potential because we can't imagine the ways in which they'll get used and be deployed. So I used to say at the start of Intercom, and I still think it's true today, and this is in 2011, that we still haven't seen the degree to which the internet is going to transform the world. And that's probably still true. Now, like, you can ask yourself, what is the internet? Like ChatGPT, like, leans on the internet. Is it a product of the internet? Like, the AI itself, like, is arguably quite different and separate from internet technology. But I'm certain that we haven't seen the full effects of the internet on humanity. And so just kind of pattern matching, I just think that this is clearly a big deal. It's bigger than other trends. It's different in that it does work that humans used to do. It doesn't just make them more efficient or connect them like the internet did. And it's only getting started. And so we're highly lightly underestimating it. That's all.
And it seems like the biggest kind of like the takeaway is this is the first time that the internet or software does work for you. Like, it's never really been the case before.
Yeah. I mean, it has a little bit before, right? We used to have software that would manage certain types of automation and
like early machine learning type stuff, maybe.
Yeah. So it was doing little bits of work, but clearly there's a chasm that's just being crossed. And again, that's going to change even in a few years when people start to figure out how to apply agents and let them be more agentic and define their work. I don't mean like really, really exotic ways. I just mean when you're going to have agents in the workplace that understand more abstract briefs and can figure out how to solve problems themselves and then get to work with it. That's a fundamentally new thing. The automation we've had in the past has kind of been very deterministic. Even if you use machine learning to kind of make it a little bit more efficient, it's been quite deterministic. So arguably it's been doing a little bit of bits of work, but not. It could be 100,000x the amount of work that software used to do. Like, it's like, it's at least 100x. It's probably 1,000x. I mean, it's just so much more work. Not only is it going to do all the work that humans used to do, it's going to do work that humans couldn't do, didn't have time for, or it was not economical to spend money to have humans do. There's going to be so much more work done in the world. So much more. As power gets cheaper, as computing gets more effective, as AI and agents gets more powerful, we're going to just deploy these things to problems we haven't even thought of yet. And they'll deploy themselves to problems that we certainly haven't thought of yet.
The agents will start deploying other agents.
Well, maybe, but that sounds more like the Matrix. But like, we'll have abstract agents in business and other places that will know how to get to work. Yeah.
So you mentioned something super interesting right there about the way software is going to change, like the pricing specifically. You mentioned, I think that was kind of a big thing that you guys kind of, you mentioned earlier that you messed that up back in kind of the maybe a couple of years ago.
Right.
And then your co-founder, Des, when I told him that we were talking, he's like, oh, you need to talk about how you figured out this new sort of outcome-based pricing, like this AI native pricing model.
Totally.
I think you were the first one to do,
we were the first. Yeah, we were the first. Yeah.
So was it hard to do that? Or
again, part of the story is that we messed our pricing up so badly in the past that we developed these very principled rules for how pricing needed to work at Intercom going forward, and created the new Fin pricing in that image. So historically, Intercom had very complex pricing because we did so many different things. We sold to sales, support, and marketing. So we tried to like serve many use cases. And then, it was very sales forward. So it was kind of aggressive, and we'd like twist people's arms, and it was kind of unpredictable because it had all these metrics that reacted to usage. And so we developed these principles that included stuff like, transparency, predictability, et cetera. But one of the core principles is a clean map from value to price. And so we try and always practice value-based pricing. And the ultimate in value-based pricing for a thing that does customer service is to charge for the service itself. And the unit of service for us is a resolution. When it resolves a customer issue to the liking of the customer, then we will charge you 99 cents, and never before. So if Fin tries and fails, no charge. If Fin tries and actually learns a lot from the customer, but can't finish the job and then passes it to the customer service rep, and then the customer service rep has all that information to get it started, get him or her started. I shouldn't call it humans. We're now just mixing agents and humans. We still charge you nothing. So we were just crazy principled about it. Originally, it cost us $1.21 per resolution. But
you were losing money.
We just had the conviction that surely we'd be able to make this cheaper, and we made it dramatically cheaper. So we have a very healthy margin now, but we just believed in the power of 99 cents. It just felt very fair. And, by the way, we pay $26 at Intercom. When we do customer service, we pay $26 for every human resolution. So some people will do 15, some people will get it as low as 5. But a lot of those people who think it's very cheap, they don't look at the fully loaded costs of benefits and office space and all the things. But if you can answer a resolution instantly for 99 cents versus $26, we knew that would be a smash hit. But everyone has now done it. So basically everyone's doing resolution-based pricing one way or another.
And it's like that across not just customer service, but like a lot of different categories in AI. It seems to be like you pay for the work that the AI delivers.
Well, it's a little different than paying for the outcome. So paying for the work is the AI did a bunch of shit.
It's terrible.
And you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Whereas we're saying the AI did a bunch of shit. You only pay if your customer is happy with the work we did. It's a very high bar.
Yeah.
What we like about that is that it's hard for the customer to argue with. The only friction you have there is that it's a new metric. Anytime you introduce a new metric, you introduce friction because they have to learn. Seats, you don't have to explain anymore. But c'est la vie, this is part of the fun of playing in a new category.
So then how did you do the customer education around that? Like, did you roll it out and it was super simple and everyone got it? Or was there like some
people
friction?
Got it quickly, really quickly. It was remarkably effective. But I was going to say that the reason we like it is that the second reason we like it, apart from the fact that there's a little friction when we explain this to customers and it feels good that they were charging for value, is that we then are incentivized to increase our resolution rates. And so if we can make our system more effective at doing work for them, we earn more too. So it's kind of got a built-in perpetual incentive and reward system where we continue to get paid for that. If we just charge for work done, then
we working all day, just
doing bullshit.
Yeah, just getting stuff out
Why
there.
not? So we like that model. Some people have tried to charge for work. I think it's okay. But I think the braver, harder thing is to charge for real value and outcomes.
And one thing you mentioned was you're charging 99 cents. It used to cost you $1.21. So you're losing money.
Yeah.
That seems to be kind of the current narrative around AI products is like, oh, they all have negative gross margins, they're all losing money. This is a huge bubble. But I saw you reply to someone on Twitter that was commenting on this, and you're like, we actually have comparable margins to traditional software.
Yeah, best in class.
So
SaaS. Yeah.
So what's the disconnect there?
We were always in the chat business. We had a messenger early on, and we started to build bots early on. Fin is the third generation of agent or bot. I say that to explain the reason that we had an AI group from the start. And we now have an AI group that's over 50 people. We have a research group within that. These are real AI scientists, researchers, and engineers. Crazy team, all co-located in Dublin at the moment, where we like relocate people to Dublin. Amazing fucking team. And the same reason that we're able to earn a strong margin on 99 cents. And by the way, people like, I shouldn't say their name because I'd have to double check it, but some of our competitors are charging $2 and $3 and $4. So we're also the cheapest. But the same reason that we're able to charge a healthy margin, even with such a cheap resolution, is the same reason that we beat all our competitors in trade-offs. And that reason is that we've got real AI teams, real AI technology, real AI scientists and researchers. And I think that that's where frontier AI application companies are going to go. And that's a really interesting challenge because if you haven't noticed, there's a really serious war for talent. But if you want to be a real AI company, you need real AI talent. I think if you're making AI applications, again, in long tail, unsexy, unobvious, esoteric areas, I don't want to like pick on anyone, but imagine if you're doing like some sort of like plumbing management, system.
There's maybe less competition.
There's less competition, and you can probably use like the generic models for like a much longer period of time. But customer service or like customer agents is arguably the most obvious application of AI. And customer agents are going to do all the customer interaction in the near future. They're going to do trillions of dollars of salaries. It's potentially the most obvious area. Then there's going to be a lot of competition. And then the frontier companies like Intercom and Fin are going to need to do real AI. It's a long-winded answer, but that's the actual truth.
So is it that you trained your own models that you get lower cost?
Well, we're doing that, but we also just use the models in a far more sophisticated way. It's not hard to take Sonnet or GPT and wrap it in some really light vibe-coded software and have it answer some questions from customers. It's extremely hard to do that at an average resolution rate in the 60s, which is the best in the industry, and beat all our competitors and not hallucinate. It's extremely hard. And it's just like a lot of very complicated tuning and configuration of this multifaceted system. It's just fucking hard.
So it's, if I have like a vibe coded customer support,
I say vibe coded not to be facetious. Our competitors are not vibe coded actually.
Yeah, but if I were to go say, I'm just going to try to compete with Intercom and vibe code this thing,
you could make a cool demo.
And will it probably be that in reality on the back end, I'm just running tons of cycles and it costs me $8 versus you had it fine-tuned?
Potentially that, but it's just going to be, again, another technical term, dog shit. Like in the market, it's going to fail hard. This is one of the big things that software companies need to wrap their heads around in the pivot to AI. You can't validate it empirically. Whereas you used to be able to sign in to the new app and like click around and say, "Oh, it works, it looks great." You can't do that with AI. You need to actually run scientific studies to see how it performs with real data, and in our case, real customers. And part of our secret also is that we have billions of data points from our tens of thousands of customers from the help desk that we also sell to do rapid high volume testing.
It would probably be because you're not just getting software, you're basically getting an employee that's doing work. So if you hire an employee, you're not just going to like to show up and you say, "Oh, look good, you're hired." You want to see a proof of work. You're going to check references.
Well, it's that, but it's not even one employee. It's a team of employees.
So you're going to like really extensive. It's almost like if you're going to acquire a company of 1,000 people, you're going to want to know
deeply
the entire
extensive
team. Yeah.
You want to see like resolution rates, time to response, but also like the feel of the answers. Like, okay, such and such an agent actually had an acceptable resolution rate, but it's super verbose. And it takes customers a long time to read the questions, and they find it really robotic, and it has impacted the CSAT score. So there's a lot of art to it too, but chiefly, because I'm kind of messing my argument up now by saying that there's art when I was trying to say the science, chiefly it's about running through the tests to see how all these different tweaks impact the outcome. We've now run well over 300, we're probably approaching 400 different A/B tests run to very high levels of statistical significance to see how all these different changes of the Fin system perform in the real world.
So if somebody has lower or negative margins, it's probably because they haven't.
Maybe that's part of it too. But I think that so I don't know this, but the narrative publicly, I believe, is that a lot of these coding co-pilots or coding platforms, AI coding technologies have negative gross margins. That's what people are saying. I don't know if that's true or not. And that's a little bit more of a raw exposure to the generic models. At least that's what it appears. And I don't know, you're a lot more close, you're closer to the action. And I feel like your ability to charge a margin above what you get from Claude Code or just Claude itself is going to be a little limited. I'd have to like really look at these businesses and see the numbers better to give a better answer. That's a guess here. But there's a lot of companies out there that it's kind of insidious, actually. They've got negative gross margins, and so much of their software is kind of like a tire-kicking software. So much of their revenue is kind of like a tire-kicking revenue. And that people are signing up to try these new tools because they're really exciting and cool. And they've got a lot of dead revenue. Whereas companies and products like Fin, where we only charge for value and outcomes, it's not possible for us to have dead revenue. We can only get revenue when we actually deliver value in the world. And if we stop delivering it, then our revenue goes down. And so there's kind of two categories of AI companies now. There's those that have this kind of apparently negative gross margin revenue and a lot of dead revenue. And then there's those that are doing real work in the real world. And that's an example of what I'm getting at when I'm talking about the fact that our understanding of AI today is still very naive. Like in just a year, we're going to be like, oh, wow, that was silly of us. And like, whoa, that company we thought was really hot, it's not that hot actually.
Yeah. Or the one we thought was dead and screwed is 10 times hotter now. Yeah.
That also.
Because I think one window of that argument is, let's say you pay a really good engineer $300,000 a year all in.
Sure.
And then Cursor's $20 a month.
Sure.
Do you really think that Cursor's not going to be able to charge instead of 20, 100 or 1,000? Like if it's actually as good as it's supposed to be and somebody's paying 1,000 times more, like can you just increase the price?
But the question is like, how much is it better relative to its competitor? And how much are they willing to charge?
That's fair.
And it's going to be tricky unless one is vastly superior for them to be able to maintain a significant margin above cost.
I think the other thing that they were doing was it's like a fixed subscription price, but then they had variable costs. So if somebody uses it, it's the cost is out of control. So it was just like the wrong pricing model initially.
I'm not sure how to think of it, honestly. I don't know. I haven't like studied it very carefully, but like my example where I said that we know that we pay our service reps, our humans, $26 per resolution, but we sell Fin for 99 cents per resolution. We do that because we know that the following argument won't work. Hey, you pay 26, we'll charge you half, $13. We just know it doesn't work because we know that people know that AI is a lot cheaper. And if we're charging $13 and the other guys are charging $2, I don't know, they're going to start to look attractive. So the margin game is going to, like, what I think is going to happen is that there'll be a lot of players in all the categories. It's going to be hyper competitive. And then one will get an edge. And then if they manage to continue to play their cards right, that edge will compound. And other players will then end up in certain sweet spots or certain areas. Some will be acquired, there'll be consolidation, but there's not going to be 10 coding platforms. There might be 2 really big ones. But this will naturally get figured out, but only when there are a much smaller amount will they be able to charge a margin. And if they really do have negative gross margins right now, that's the bet that all their investors are making. That these guys seem to be out and ahead of everyone else. Once they kind of have that dominance and superiority in the market, they'll be able to catch up. It's an interesting game, and it's a game that used to be played in the consumer world when people lost margin to customer acquisition, and a lot of it didn't work out. A lot of it failed. Some of it did. Some of it did.
Massive success too.
Like Instacart and those types of companies. Uber Eats. I think they all had these dynamics. So if you can, and I named all the winners. So if you can end up as the winner, then it worked out. It was good.
And it's kind of like, let's just say you're one of those ones like, oh man, our gross margins are negative. We better slow down. Like, we better pare it back. Somebody else is just going to charge past you. And if they have the right, investors set on board, employees, the right product, like, they're going to smoke you. So you kind of have to sort of play the game to the extent of that it's out there.
Well, part of the game is like a game of chicken. Like, who's gonna not continue this very crazy game and continue to raise increasingly large amounts of money, dilute themselves, set expectations in the hope that they become a winner. So eventually people will drop out or be forced to drop out because they can't raise. That's how winners emerge also. They just can't continue to finance their losses. So is that a strategic thing that you've kind of thought about and how you position in the market? Or for some reason it's different. And we've been making a positive growth and a strong positive gross margin on Fin almost from the start. Only at the start we were making a loss. And so that hasn't been a dynamic for us, and we have not been cash constrained. And I don't know, if I had a little longer to think about it, I'd probably do a better job at answering, but it doesn't seem to be a dynamic. I feel like in a sense, you're in a pretty interesting position where you had like the scaled customer base already. I think that could be a really big part of it. Because you didn't have to go and say, we need to spend $100 million on essentially customer acquisition to scale up really quick. So that's certainly a big part of the dynamic. And then you also had an existing AI team. Like, was like, we got to go hire 50 AI researchers. Like, no, we have 50 people on our AI team already. We have the customer base, distribution, AI team, and a lot of cash in the bank. We're cash flow positive. So all of those things are helpful. But a shrinking business. So it's like, okay, we need a business with a declining growth rate. We had not yet started to shrink. Oh, you didn't? Okay. No. But the growth, the net new RR was decreasing. We pulled up before revenue started to decline. We had slowing growth rates, but we never hit that bottom, thankfully. Okay. Yeah, but so it seems like you almost had like the perfect setup of doing a like life altering or like company altering strategic, even though it kind of seemed like a terrible situation you were in, you actually had an interesting setup to make this. Of course. Because you had the sort of the team, you had the distribution, you probably had, I'm assuming a lot of your investors were like, oh, we like AI is probably a good idea. Can we get some of that AI dollars? Of course. Yeah. Like the following two things are true. And I mean that strongly, so much so that I resent anyone that claims that that's not the case. It's true that this opportunity was handed to us on a platter. It's just unarguably true. Customer service, we were in the right space and there's just such an opportunity there. And we just went through all the advantages. It's also true that it took a willingness to be kind of fucking crazy to bet the farm on this new fancy thing. Yeah. I mean, we were the first to have a billboard with AI on it. We were the first to, I said we're going to spend 100 million of our own balance sheet. We're the first to say that they were going to spend their own real money on AI. We're the first of a late stage company to say that we were going to pivot to AI. So, and we weren't the only company in trouble. So it still required bravery and craziness. But yes, the opportunity was also presented to us. It was ours to screw up for sure.
Yeah.
And both can be true at the same time.
So something interesting that you mentioned a couple minutes ago, a little earlier, was you're not really thinking about this as just specifically customer service. It's kind of a broader opportunity than that. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, we think that everything in a business that doesn't involve making a product or delivering a service is going to be done by agents. Whether it's deep in a company doing accounting, or whether it's on the front line with customers, helping them, buy your product. There'll still be, for quite some period of time, humans in all these departments, but there's going to be agents doing a broad spectrum of non-strategic work, the stuff that doesn't define and make the company different. And I don't think you're going to have multiple, say, customer-facing agents. I don't think it makes any sense to have an agent that chats with your customer on your website to help answer questions about the product, and then another agent that helps it get onboarded and use the product more successfully, and then another agent that answers questions when it gets stuck, and then another agent that upsells the customer. It doesn't make any sense. And certainly in the real world, customers don't see a distinction. When you are in a boutique store and you have a question about a product, you'll ask the person behind the desk. Mm-hmm. If you bought a product and it was broken, you'll go back and ask the person behind the desk. If you, as that business, want to upsell a customer on like a more valuable item, it's going to be the person behind the desk. Mm-hmm. So the customer doesn't have any distinction. And so I just think making a bunch of different agents is going to be wildly, crazily, ridiculously complex. And as such, people will want one to rule them all. And we're calling that thing a customer agent. And the goal is to deliver a concierge experience to every single customer. White glove service for anyone who shows any level of interest in your business throughout the customer lifecycle. Just like agents are better than humans at service, they're going to be better than humans at all of these things. There won't be a single customer that won't get the attention they deserve. If you really wanted to treat them with the dignity and respect you felt that they had, given that they're paying your bills and potentially making you rich, you certainly wouldn't make them wait multiple days for an answer. You'd be on it. Every single whimsical question they had, you'd be there for them. And in the future, customer agents won't just, like I said, solve problems, but they're going to be experts, consultants. Think of the clothes, like the use case of buying clothing online. If you imagine the agent as being an AI agent, as being a really effective version of the thing that the humans do today. Hey, do you deliver to this place? Or can you change the delivery address? Or I need to do a return. Yep. You're thinking of it all wrong. Customer agents are going to be the very best stylists in the world, right? They're going to be experts in their field. Like, hey, I know that you chose those pants and those shoes, and you told me earlier that you're shopping for this wedding you're going to this summer in Italy, they could totally work. People usually buy these other shoes with that suit. And I actually wanted to show you this photo of this one celebrity that wore this suit to this show. And they wore these shoes. And I think it looks awesome. And it's up to you. But if you upload you send me a photo, let's see what it looked like on you. Like, I think it looks pretty dashing. So anyway, I don't want to do a hard sell or anything, but if we wrap this up now, I'll give you 5% off this package too. I guarantee people are going to be like, you know what? Sold. You see how people talk to our agent Fin all day long. They're thanking it. They're making little jokes. Fin is making jokes back. People love it. And so if it can give you that experience, I think people are going to love it too. So that's clearly the future of all different types of businesses is customer agents doing all the things incredibly well that don't differentiate you from your competitors.
Well, you could even say with that, like the customer or the customer agent could say, people just really want this like new suede suit. Like everyone is asking for the suede suit. We don't have one. Maybe we should make a suede suit.
So on the back end, so you're talking about like an operations agent, which obviously makes sense too.
Yeah.
So customer agent is all the customer facing stuff. Then you got the operations agent, which is on the inside.
So you think that will be separate?
TBD. I think people will have their own operational agents. And I think that there's going to be companies that make kind of like glue agents or like everything agents. There's a cool company called Lindy that's doing these types of things. There's probably many more. And then there's going to be specific agents. There'll be one probably for legal stuff, accounting, customer stuff. And then TBD, who's going to do the internal operations? And you could imagine that internal customer operations be done internally. And we're working on certain versions of that where it'll work with your team, ask questions of the humans when it doesn't actually have answers and build up its repertoire of knowledge. So I think there'll be some overlap, but TBD, what the operations agent looks like and who will build that.
So how do you think the way that companies are designed and run is going to change? Just how we see this kind of agent, almost like an agent for each department, like as that kind of evolves over the next decade-ish or so? Like, is it going to be, it's a single person and they have 20 different agents that just represent every single different function of a company? Like, is that the extreme or?
Like, I don't know. I think that it's not just going to be like a manager and all these IC agents, I don't think, because there'll be an amount of the work that the agents just can't do that humans will still want to do.
Like always, even in 10 years.
I think there'll even be like a preference in many instances where they'll want to actually differentiate themselves from the shitty companies that only use agents and say, oh, we messed up. Like, can we get on a quick call? And they like apologize and like, it's going to be a really interesting experience. We'll get to a point where you're like, it's like a peek behind the curtain. It's like you'll tell your buddy, like, the craziest thing happened to me today. I was like on this store, blah, 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 blah. And something fucking crazy happened. And like, I then out of nowhere ended up talking to a person. And he's like based in San Francisco. And he was just like this guy in a flannel shirt. And apparently he runs the thing. It'll be like archaic and quaint. You talk to humans, but it'll make sense. It'll be remarkable.
Yeah.
But that's in the outer reaches of this future world. For the next 10 years, the agents won't even be able to do a lot of the human stuff. There's a long way to go to cover 100% of all demand for service. And so my point is that it won't just be managers and IC agents. It'll be a mix between managers and IC humans with the agents. And maybe what it'll look like is you have like an IC type manager who can do some of the human work and then has peers who work alongside it and also work, or him or her, them, and also do their work.
Interesting, huh?
So, but this is just one of the examples of like smart asses like me can get on podcasts and say how they believe the future is going to look. It's all bullshit. We haven't a clue.
Yeah, and you're probably going to be biased towards people using Fin versus not.
Well, of course I am. I mean, that for sure. But like, Fin aside, my idea about how humans and agents are going to work together, that's just fucking bullshit that almost just made up now. Like I can imagine it, but I don't think we have a clue. None of us have a clue. You should be very skeptical of people who are like very, very confident about what the future is going to look like.
Yeah. So one thing that I have noticed is that you have not really said Intercom much. You specifically, when you created the AI native version of the product, you called it Fin.
Right.
Was there a certain significance around that decision?
Yeah, very much so. Like historically, brand prestige meant something important. Even Apple, for example, apart from maybe recent years, so it could be a bad example, have historically and still consistently make good products, and their reputation for being hardware people at the very least is relevant today because people are still building hardware. We want new hardware. So Apple's brand and reputation as a company that makes great hardware over the last 20 to 30 years is relevant today. When a new technology or trend emerges, not only can that brand maybe not translate, but it can be a kind of a ball and chain and a counterweight, something that works against you. And we all have, without saying it out loud, realized that AI is kind of like a young person, a new company's game. Like we kind of imagine that all the new hot AI is going to come from new hot companies. And you look at them, it's like a bunch of kids working 365 days a year on negative gross margin companies, just kind of joking about that one. But, and that's our image for like what that looks like. And so if you have like a prestige brand from a previous generation that looks very differently from what your expectations are for what good looks like in this new world, yeah, it can work against you. And that's our perception with, a brand like Zendesk, Salesforce, or maybe even Intercom, where they're previous generation companies, and no one expects that they're going to be the leaders in AI.
Yeah.
Like if you heard that Cisco are making the most interesting AI coding platform, you would say, I'm going to need to see I want to see that.
I would say there's zero chance.
It's probably not true.
I would say,
right?
Well, it's like with, this is actually a bad example of your point because IBM made Watson, this new thing.
True, but Watson wasn't that great, actually. I mean, it was new, but it wasn't the modern AI.
That's fair, yeah.
Right? So, but it can happen, but it's pretty rare. And so for us, we're proud of who we are. We're Intercom. We're unique in that we have the best help desk and the best agent for our part of the market. And that's why we're winning a lot of customers from people like Zendesk, because people want something that works together. You can't really get that with the standalone guys. But we really need people to know that the Fin thing's a new thing. And so we want it to kind of like win on its own. And you look at our billboards, for example, don't say Intercom on them. Like we're spending tens of millions of dollars on advertising that has no Intercom on it. We send all the traffic to Fin.ai. Only on the bottom of the page does it say an Intercom product. We're not trying to hide the fact that we're Intercom. We're just trying to let people see it anew for what it is, because it is new. I mean, the AI group was like 6 or 7 people when we started working on Fin. They're 50 now. We were spending a couple $1 million in AI. Back then, we're spending, 100 million plus over the next year or two. Like, there's so much that's new here, and we've made a dramatic pivot, and we need to package that in a way which people understand. It's probably kind of common sense, but it's a kind of a wild thing to do when you have a respected brand. But it is actually working. And now we have a great channel on intercom.com where we sell a ton of software that way. But now we have a new channel, Fin.ai. We sell a ton of software that way. I don't know. We'll see. It's complicated.
You mentioned you're spending tens of millions on billboards. Do billboards work?
I think they work when you're trying to establish a new leader of a new category in people's minds. Just brand recognition. You can brute force it. I think you can. It doesn't mean that they'll develop preference for it, but I think they have a way of, there's an insidious way of that positive exposure to a brand influences people's perception of the company. If you've heard it many times, you're kind of like, I've heard that somewhere. That's an interesting company. I think I need to check them out. And yeah, we're fighting the inertia of the star that is the hot white star that is Intercom, and therefore it makes sense to spend a lot. Now, I think those $10 million are billboards, and they're also digital advertising, et cetera. So,
fair.
So
okay.
it might not all be. I mean, this is, I should know how much we're spending on all the various things, but
yeah,
I have smart people that do that. But I do believe it works to some degree. Yeah.
And you said something really interesting in the past. You mentioned when you came back to Intercom that you just didn't like the brand at the time.
Well, I didn't like the brand expression.
So so what was going on?
I just thought it was like very robotic and corporate and shit. We always were brave and different, creative, and we see ourselves as that kind of company. And so when the brand shows up differently, it's going to make everyone feel uncomfortable. It's like you having to go to a party dressed in, I don't know, I actually don't know you well enough to finish that sentence, but dressed like a fucking dork. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. Maybe a slightly different topic, but you talking about some of the AI stuff, the sort of, if you look at like the two kind of like CEO archetypes, there's the manager CEO and there's the founder CEO. Sure. You probably fall more in the founder CEO bucket.
Well, I'm a founder CEO.
Because you're the founder CEO. Yeah. How do you think about those two archetypes as we kind of go into the next couple of years?
Well, I just think that I know that AI is so fucking competitive, and the people working on it are young and very hardworking kids in their 20s. And we worked super hard back in the day, but maybe they're working harder. I don't know if that's true, but there's no timeouts in this game. Like, you just gotta push aggressively every day of the week and work at a cadence that is quite unfamiliar in the late stage software days. In the late stage software days, every year or two, you check in your strategy. You do a quarterly exec meeting. You'd review the goals for that quarter and set the KPIs after having reviewed the goals from the last quarter. Maybe once a year, you'd have the innovation and strategy team present to you
some new innovations.
They tell you what's coming.
Yeah.
The R&D team would say, here's what we've been working on for the last year.
That's good to hear from. Yeah.
Yeah. And you'd be like, cool. I like that. Oh, cool. Cloud. Okay, great. Let's make sure we have something for our cloud strategy. Obviously, I'm really being a fucking ridiculous.
People like, maybe we need an NFT strategy
or whatever. I mean,
maybe.
Unfortunately, many people had an NFT strategy.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And there was this slow cadence, and it maybe, and I say maybe, and really I mean didn't fit the professional CEO who was part of a large organization, and they were really good at that cadence, structure, order, harmony. But in the AI world, it's like, imagine you set your new strategy and your goals for the quarter. It can be day 3 on the new quarter. Someone releases a new model, and your competitor releases a new product, and the other competitor just announced their new financing, and the product you all were really hyped about kind of didn't work. You need another quarter, and you realize that your old brand that everyone loved is kind of fucking holding you back, and you need a new brand. And you can't get the Fin.ai domain, and it's really the only one. You're going to have to talk to the fucking guy who owns it, and he wants a lot to be paid for it.
Did this actually happen?
This actually happened.
Oh, wow.
And it's like this constantly dynamic, wild thing. And professional CEOs, I just think anyone who wants to work in that cadence is just going to be left in the dust. And so I just think that this time demands the founder MO, which is flying by the seat of their pants and, rolling their sleeves up and getting involved and making quick and fast decisions and not being afraid to make a mess.
Well, yeah, when you think about that, an annual product plan, let's say we're sitting there, August of 2024, I think Bolt launched in October of 2024, Lovable somewhat recently after that. Then you had V0 from Vercel, you had Replit launched.
Windsurf.
We had like Windsurf and Cursor. All these companies basically break the record for fastest ARR growth.
Of course.
What's the joke? Accounting rules aside, whatever. Yeah. Did you see the one video that went viral?
Yeah,
it's like, that's actually when you replied to.
That's the one I replied to.
But yeah, it's like, gross margins aside.
Yeah.
Extreme growth. So you professional CEO, like you check back in October of 2025.
An annual plan doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so part of what you also need is employees who are willing to work in that chaos. And, I've always got feedback that like, oh, we're making too many changes. And,
Is that the hardest part of working for you? Is it you're always...
No, we can get to what the hardest part of working for me in a second. But I always got that feedback and I actually took it as a negative and was quite insecure about it because I'm not a hyper organized person. I'm not the professional CEO operator.
Yeah.
I'm the person that hires that person. But now I know it's a feature, not a bug, actually. In the AI game, you have to change. We would be fucking dead if we didn't rip up all of our rules and all of our plans and all of our strategy and ICP and everything else multiple times in the last couple of years.
Yeah, because there's been quite a few startups that have emerged trying to do customer service, right?
Yeah. You have to stay adaptive,
Speaking of that, actually, if you were a startup right now, if you had to start over, like if you're like, you're not allowed to do Intercom.
Yeah.
You're not like, you have to, no customer service allowed. What kind of opportunities do you think are out there for startups right now? Like, is there like a framework that you have?
No, starting anew is so difficult, particularly now that things are moving so quickly, because you need to start something long before it's valuable or cool, like well before the category takes off. So much of the early stage thing is a crapshoot because of that, which you probably know.
Yeah.
So for me, when I think about starting new businesses, it's always just needs I see in the world that I will be really excited to fill. And I do think that works in technology today, including in AI. If you stay close to fields of personal interest, and of course you can try and build stuff in fields that are not interesting to you, but I hate that approach personally. I hate that throw shit at the wall approach and see what sticks. It's just really, really hard to build for people you don't understand or care about.
Yeah.
But if you can stay close to domains that are interesting to you and that you care about, really get to know them, and then also be the person in that field that knows the most about modern technology and applications of AI, I think that there's opportunities to build cool new stuff. But so many of these AI companies are like really abstract also. Like,
how so?
They're building like platforms for AI companies that do a certain type of niche. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I've definitely seen some of those. Like
but then you look at the revenue and their customer base and it's like, oh, it's kind of real. Like, and I believe it's real for what it's worth. Now, maybe it's actually not. I'm not going to name the company.
Maybe it's like the optimist in you is you're like,
no, I'm not an optimist, actually. I told you I was skeptical on the AI thing. I'm not an optimist. I think at least half of these companies are going to flame out. Like that's how it works, particularly when everyone's FOMOing into a space. Maybe 2/3 are going to flame out. Like it's kind of okay also. Everyone should go into it all eyes wide open. But I do think that there are those abstract opportunities. If AI is going to be as big as AI seems to be, then building tools and platforms for AI is probably a thing. That these second order things that I never would have thought of. But you have to be a certain type of nerdy individual to like get excited about that too.
Yeah.
But when you get far enough away from early stage, all your early stage ideas kind of wither and die. You need to be a desperate founder to smell the ideas quite often.
Yeah, and I feel like when you're thinking about competition, it's like there's probably less incumbent competition in it. helping AI native companies, but there's probably a lot of startup competition in the,
Sure.
How do you do evals better?
Sure.
Or, I think there's this one, I don't know if this even worked. It was like employee reviews for AI agents or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you can get pretty esoteric.
But maybe it does work. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it does.
Yeah, maybe it does.
One question that I know I wanted to ask you about was, you are originally from Dublin, Ireland,
Right.
Obviously also based here in SF.
Yeah.
You probably were one of the first scaled and successful kind of distributed teams. Is that still something you guys lean into a lot?
So we're like semi-distributed in that we have multiple offices, but we try to not hire remote. It's just kind of a painful fact of our existence. Like, it was an advantage insofar as it gave us access to talent markets that we wouldn't have if we were just in San Francisco. And we have benefited and continue to benefit quite a bit from being in Ireland and London and being one of the more interesting companies to build actual technology in those places. But being far away from the humans that you're collaborating with and kind of spending most of your life with and on such a deeply emotional and profound adventure with sucks. It's horrible. I don't recommend it to anyone. And a lot of people sleepwalk into it because, they're kind of like, oh, my co-founder doesn't want to like move for whatever reason, or, we can't find a designer here or whatever it is. I'm not saying you have to be in SF at all, even though there are great benefits to being here, but they take the easy path of building a distributed team and then just make it ever harder to on-distribute themselves, so much so that they never become on-distributed. And I just think it sucks. I just know that in person's better. That there's, the days I crave were the days where we were in the same office, or I was back in Dublin. You're going in the morning, you're meeting your co-founder or someone for a coffee. You kind of can have ad hoc meetings. I don't know, it's just more fluid and fun. Like, I spend the majority of my day looking at a little digital square in front of me. And like, for my one beautiful human life on this earth, under the sun, I choose to fucking stare at this little digital square. I don't know. It doesn't seem like the best way to spend your days.
Probably not. I don't know if Brian Johnson would approve.
He probably hates this idea, but I'm not even talking about it from a wellness perspective. I'm just talking about like just richness of life experienced.
Yeah.
So I do it out of necessity, but I just think I know it's just so much more fun to meet people in person. Look, we all have various trade-offs we make. It's okay if you make the conscious trade-off. I'm just telling people don't make it unconsciously.
Yeah. It sounds like if there's multiple distributed team with multiple offices, and it's like the people that are in different cities because of the necessities of whatever.
As like the remote thing, because I do have people in SF I meet in person. There's a lot of people that meet in person in Dublin and in London, and we try to keep teams together, certainly in the same time zone. The time zone makes it even worse.
Oh yeah,
way worse, because Dublin's 8 hours ahead, and so I'm just starting my day. I'm barely waking up. They're at the end of their day. They want to go home.
Yeah,
it's like terrible mismatch.
How do you think the media has changed over recent years? I know we're on a podcast. I'm an influencer, I guess, at the end of the day. Like, what's kind of it's depending on who you're talking to. It's like, sometimes it's like an embarrassing thing. Some people are really excited for it. For me, it's like, I kind of accidentally became one. So it's like, you got to lean into it. But how have you kind of seen that evolve over time as a founder, and how you kind of play that for your company?
More and more people evangelize the idea of founders going direct. And it's a trend that's real. You've even got people like Mark Zuckerberg going on a range of different podcasts, speaking in long form in a very raw way. And I think that that's only great for people like Mark. I think without that, he was substantially less human to the world. And so for founders and having this opportunity to go on different people's podcasts, have these long form conversations, publish their own podcasts or videos, even just their own writing on Substack or even on Twitter or X. Like all these things are outstanding. I will begrudgingly admit that there is some, at the very least, psychological stamp of approval or value stamp that conventional media still delivers. And when you're covered by the Wall Street Journal, I don't know, I guess it's got a certain sheen to it still.
Yeah, people kind of lean forward when
I think so. Like, now, if you think carefully about it, is there a good reason for that? Probably in part, no. But in part, yes, because to actually get covered by the Wall Street Journal, you need to be comprehensible and interesting to the mainstream.
Yeah,
and
true.
That is a kind of signifier that there's something that's broadly more interesting here than the nerdy podcasts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just tell all founders to just tell their story early and often. Don't be afraid to repeat themselves. The new cohort are all vibes founders, or at least the best of them. They're really good at media.
Did they grow up on the internet? Like, is that why? Or?
Part of it, right? Well, they grew up with TikTok and they grew up with Instagram. And the best of them learned how to promote themselves, or at the very least, saw how people who were good at promoting themselves did it. It's hard actually for a lot of founders. I'm not that type of person. I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to create a bunch of fucking videos of myself. It's not interesting to me.
Yeah.
Very painful. But there's people who like doing it and they're good at it and they get a lot of benefits now.
Yeah.
And so I think the game is now a hype game. It's now a cell phone media game. It's a direct game. And the more you can tell your story early and often, the better. And I think the last thing I would say is the more vulnerable you can be, the better.
Really? Why is that a big deal?
Well, just because with the vibe marketing comes the bullshit. And there's a lot of overly slick content.
Yeah,
and kind of dry podcast interviews that are very difficult to listen to, in my opinion.
That's true. If someone's listening this far into this one, you got to give them credit.
What are you saying? This is dry? Is that what you're saying? If you can be vulnerable and authentic in yourself, I just think it's a lot more interesting and relatable.
Yeah.
And it's hard, everyone on the internet is trying to take quick and cheap shots. It's hard to take shots at people who are just fully being themselves and not trying to sell too hard. So the prototypical future successful founder, and I do think that this is like a strong signifier for someone worth investing in, is someone who is able to tell their story confidently, knows who they are, they're authentic, they're willing to make mistakes, admit when they're wrong, and is not afraid to be on camera and just produces content and communicates. Like, those guys go so far. Some of them go too far. And there's some companies I can think of, which I won't name, that maybe they're all hype. We don't know yet. Yeah. But I'm almost certain that the future successful founders will learn how to do this well.
Well, it's that whole of like distributions all that matters. Like, it that's not entirely true, but to the point
it makes a big difference if indeed software is getting cheaper to develop.
Yep.
Right? What's left then?
Yeah. And to your point of maybe someone went too far and we don't know if they actually have a product and if it actually works, but we know that we should care. Like, there's two different sides of that problem. It's like, you made a great product, nobody knows about it.
Sure.
And there's the other side, like, you have no product, but everyone knows about your product. Sure. Two different problems. Maybe one of them is easier or harder to solve for or get around. But
well, I think you need to do all the things. And true. We've got a lot better at building software. Like, when I started building software, things like Ruby on Rails just came out, and it was profoundly...
You didn't have Cursor. Like, you had to actually write the code, right?
Forget Cursor. We didn't have... I don't know what version of Rails we're on now that make it even easier. Like, these frameworks only just came out that allowed you to save a lot of time developing basic CRUD apps. Now software is commodified. And yes, now we have Cursor and everything else, which are going to add great efficiencies. But distribution is not commodified at all. It's monetized. So you can pay your way in. And if you are a new founder with not a lot of money, you're finding the incumbents like me with the hundreds of millions of dollars, the tens of millions of dollars, dumping it on billboards allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
So what have you got left? You've got your own vibe and je ne sais quoi and magic to give to the world.
Yeah.
And so maybe this take proves wrong, but I really think that the new hot founders are going to be ones that can sell themselves well.
Yeah. Well, and I think one thing too is when you think about, you like if you think about from yourself and you just think of like, how do I feel about constantly putting myself out? Like I'm tweeting 20 times a day. Right. I'm making a bunch of TikTok videos, make like 10 or 20 a day. Right. You know all that you're doing, and you just assume every single person out there is seeing and consuming all, and they just think, oh man, Turner's just tweeting all day. Turner's making TikToks all day. But the average person is going to see maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of those, and they might see 10 or 20, maybe 50% of what you put out. No one will actually see all of it. So it's kind of like putting shots on goal. Yeah. So, and a lot of times you don't really know what's going to hit when you're making content. Yeah. Like I will tweet something that I thought was pretty clever and like, oh, this is going to be a banger, and it just kind of flops. And then sometimes I'll have one where there's like a typo and it was like, it took me 2 seconds to make, but it gets 1 million views. I'm like, shit, I almost didn't tweet that one.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of one of those, like it's sort of the same thing of like high shipping velocity on product. Right. It's just with content. It's just, you just put it out there. You just do it 10 times a day, and the 9th one and the 10th one is the one that really hits. Yeah. And that's the reason people know about you. But if you chop those off and you only did 8, or you only did 1 a day, or you did 1 a week or 1 a month, like imagine if you did 10 a day, you need the 100th time is the one that it hits.
That's totally true.
10 days, you got it, you hit. Versus if you were doing 1 a month or 1 a week and it take you 100, it would literally take you 100 years.
It's true. Unfortunately, I'm doing like the 1 a week strategy. It's because I'm not one of these young founders that is like social native where I like have all these ideas for pithy tweets and I'm really excited for the world to like them. Like, I'm not that guy, unfortunately. So this is some of the advantages that the new kids do have.
Yeah.
Some people can work and tweet, like Amjad from Replit apparently can work and tweet.
Yeah.
He's built a great product. The business is on fire. The guy's out there in social media promoting it nonstop. Apparently it all works. Kudos to him.
Well, and one thing to think of too is like, you might think, oh, he's just tweeting all day, or he's just, all he's doing is just typing all day. Sure. But you're probably spending a lot of time in Slack. You're spending a lot of time in email.
Sure.
So you're just kind of shifting some of that to being a place that's one on many. So it's like you can send an incredible message, super insightful on Slack or an email to one person.
Sure.
Or if you put it on the internet, 100,000 people will see it, and you almost get more credit for it in a way. So, there's downsides to putting the wrong thing out there on the internet, but there's also like unbounded upside.
You have to not overthink it. Yeah. You have to be willing to be wrong. Yeah.
Yep. Talking about putting things out on the internet, I kind of wanted to just to kind of wrap this up.
Yeah.
I went to your personal website.
Yeah.
Your website's incredible. Like it looks like it was made in 2003, maybe.
Yeah. Well, it's designed to look like it was made in 1996.
Okay.
Because they were the glory days for me when I first got online.
Okay.
GeoCities and all that good stuff.
Okay, I was going to say GeoCities. Yeah. I had a GeoCities website back in high school that I had.
Respect.
It had the little the sidebar ads thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Perfect.
I think you could pay for premium to get rid of it, but I was 12, so I didn't have that.
That was a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And you said one of the things on your website, you said you took out a loan for like $2,200 for your first flight to San Francisco.
Euros. Yeah.
Really? So what's the story with that?
I mean, just that I didn't have a lot of money. That's the
and you were just
the end of the story.
You were just hell bent on, I'm going to get to San Francisco.
Yeah. I had one friend out here who told me earlier that year, like, dude, it's crazy out here. Kind of like the whole internet's being built out here. And there's like so many VCs and you kind of have to be here. And yeah, the word was kind of getting out about San Francisco. San Francisco wasn't the center of Silicon Valley in 2011. That was just like a conversation. People were saying, oh, it's starting to move to San Francisco.
From like South Bay.
Yeah, exactly. South Bay, Palo Alto, and Cupertino, and Menlo Park, and Mountain View. That was where Silicon Valley was. And so I moved here just as people were saying, ooh, San Francisco is going to be the new Silicon Valley. And yeah, I came here to be part of that. Had to be part of that.
Yeah. And another thing, semi-related on the website, it said it took you quite a while to raise the very first round for Intercom. I think I saw that the pitch deck is on the website, which I'll throw a link in the description for people to see. But I think you were trying to raise $600,000.
I was trying to raise $1 million, and I like just burned through every single investor intro I got. I just got no's everywhere. You see, the thing, this is where I really sound like an old man, but like back then there weren't seed firms. Like there was maybe 3 or 4 or 5.
So was this 2011?
Okay. Like there weren't really seed firms. Like there were VCs, and I think kind of the way you did it was that you raised like a friends and family round, and then you went to the institutional people, and then maybe you raised a Series A, and the friends and family round was maybe your seed, kind of. Like there weren't many people who were writing big seed checks. Now you see all these people, all these fucking kids. I'm just kind of trying to joke here, trying to lighten the situation, given how old I sound. Announcing their $7, $8, $9, $10 million seed rounds. There was one just announced today that I invested in, and that was unheard of. $7 fucking million for a seed round. Like if someone told you that in 2011, it would be actually funny. It would be a funny joke.
So you would have thought they were like literally like
trolling you. It would be a joke because it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. And yeah. So anyway, I went to all the various angels I could get intros to, got a bunch of no's. Then I got a couple yeses. I like got 5K checks, 10K checks. I think I got a 50 or 100K check from Biz Stone, who was the founder of Twitter, one of the Twitter founders. So he was one of the big ones. And like I met him. We took a walk around the mission for probably 25 minutes. He shook my hand and said, yeah, I really like it. Yeah, okay, cool. I'm in. Got like 50, 100K. Like, but really, I really got the impression that like, and I like Biz a lot. This is only a compliment to Biz. He ended up making like a bunch of just killer investments. But I'm like, God damn it, that guy really hasn't done his due diligence at all.
Yeah.
Like what? He doesn't know
it's like
what
vibe
he's
investing.
Exactly. But I mean, it really worked out for him. But
yeah.
Long story short, many painful, depressing months. Came back to Ireland, cap in hand, like a fucking loser to my co-founders. I had managed to scrape together 500K, much of which just came together in the last minute. But then Biz knew these Japanese guys, Digital Garage, and introduced me to them. And I had a meeting with them during the day in Dublin. It must have been really late in Japan. It was a Skype call. It was 26-year-old me. There was like 12 guys in suits.
Okay.
The lost in translation factor was very real.
Did they know English?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
But like, I'm pretty sure that they barely knew what I was saying. I barely knew what they were saying.
Yep.
But it was something like, I don't know how it went, but they were kind of like, I'm not, they said something like, very good. We'd like to invest $500,000. Sorry, $500,000. And I was like, okay. And, that went on to be a great fucking investment for them also. I mean, a killer investment. Back then, of course, seed rounds we raised at a $6 million valuation. So it's like,
maybe some dilution. They're probably sitting around 100x at least, right? Something like
there's
that.
Some dilution. I don't know if it's 100x, but it was a good investment. Let me put it that way. So kudos to those guys. And I got to like meet them over the years. We'd meet in person. They were just the most polite, lovely gentlemen ever. So our round was just really random. I didn't deserve that $1 million, but it came together. And so I can't overstate my resentment for the kids who are raising $10 million at a $100 million valuation in a week.
So why is that happening now?
I think we're more aware of the potential of these investment vehicles. Like, 15 years later, we now see the plethora of unicorns and decacorns. So first time, is this how we say decacorn?
Decacorn?
Terrible phrase, but I'm embarrassed even that I said that phrase.
It's like the most
I'm
Silicon
shifting in
Valley
my feet.
buzzword.
See, I realized I've never said it before.
Yeah. You've never said it out loud?
Never said that word before. There was barely billion-dollar private companies back then.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a thing. The reason it was called unicorn was that it kind of didn't exist.
Yeah.
And now there's like little AI companies that are like worth $1 billion 3 months after launch. I mean, that literally happens now.
Yeah.
And so we weren't aware of and awake to the potential still of software, the internet, technology, cloud. And that's why now when people see AI come around, they're like, holy shit, we're not going to make that same mistake again. Because these things are so much bigger than we realize. And just like, SaaS was bigger than we thought before, I say it again, that AI is probably way bigger than we could possibly imagine. And so as ludicrous as these rounds are, even though some will flame out and people will lose their money, some are going to make phenomenal fortunes.
Yeah.
Because just like unicorns were so rare then, and now we have companies worth tens of billions, maybe in 10 years, it's not going to be rare for companies to be worth hundreds of billions when they're private. It might not be the thing that only 5 companies can achieve. Maybe there'll be 50. And so then it makes sense to lean in aggressively, but not back in 2011.
Yeah. Well, an interesting thing though, when you think about the people investing that capital and how do you monetize it, like you charge fees and you get the profits or the carries. Right. So in public markets, there's fee compression.
Sure.
Like, so if you're running a public market fund, you probably can only charge about 1% of your capital. But if you run a venture capital fund, private markets, you can charge 2%. Right. So people charge 2.5% or 3% a year. Right. So there's incentives for the capital to kind of be there. When if people know the returns are there, you miss out on with publics. You get paid your carry quarterly, sometimes annually. With private markets, you need to actually exit. Yeah. So you don't get the carry quite as much. But the incentives that moves the incentives even more towards raising AUM. Sure. And getting that management fee. So it's like you've got, if the companies are doing well and they're growing into the correct profile, you'll have investors who will kind of step up and raise the capital to kind of solve for that and keep them private. Right. So I think the incentives are aligned, whether you could say it's good or bad, but like the incentives are set up to where that's probably going to happen. And there'll be just a lot more money chasing this current capital. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And just going into, once again, many esoteric, unfamiliar, unsexy categories. The capital is going to trickle down in many areas and directions. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe VC firms will grow. Maybe it turns out that the close to infinite VC funds will actually not be enough. Maybe. I feel like that's a pretty hot take. I feel like most people say there's too many VCs. No, that's what I would say. Yeah. Well, it's just really hard to differentiate now. Yeah. how do you decide? Like when you meet an investor, I guess you're a little different now from where you're at, but maybe if you can reflect on it and think about it. I mean, really, I guess at I still do it. Yeah. Spectrum. Like, how do you think about it? Like, do you look at like what value will you provide to me? Is it like do I trust you? Like, would I want to get a beer with you? Yeah. Like, how do you gauge it? I have sharp hot takes on this. I'm glad you asked. Okay. I think that value add is fucking bullshit. I do think that some, particularly if they're operators, can maybe help. But I think it's really the job of the founder to run their damn business. And if they set up a situation where either they think or the investor thinks that the investor should be contributing anything, something's going wrong. But for the most part, most investors are not going to be able to help the founders. I mean, it's just a fundamentally different discipline. I do think that they can help them thinking about future financings and about corporate matters, valuations, exits, and they can make appropriate introductions to other investors and bankers and strategic buyers, et cetera. So all of that makes sense. I think that's really cool. But I'm really allergic to the big firms that have apparently these suites of services. I think that that's bullshit. So that's kind of one side of it. The investors, and so I'm repelled from investors that say, how can we be helpful? I'm like, come on, buddy. Like, you can't. Sorry. Yeah. You typically can't. Not with me, not with the brand new
founder. Like,
Yep.
You can't. Like, you're probably a great investor, but that's a different discipline.
Yeah.
So I'm repelled from those types of people. I'm attracted to investors who have the confidence to communicate directly and openly and actually know what they bring to the table and are willing to disclose their own interests. So when you get investors who are like, I just want to be involved in like, great founders and you're fucking amazing. And like, oh, I really actually love your company and you are particularly incredible. And the timing isn't right or something.
You didn't say anything. That was the most generic line of words I've ever heard.
But that is 80 to 90% of investors still. I like reconnected with a bunch of investors because we haven't raised since late 2017. So I've been like not exposed to investors for 8 years. And I'm like, maybe they've changed. And I got the same lines from a brand new cohort of investors. But a couple investors would say things like, or will say things like, that opportunity is interesting on the face of it. We like that company, but, our return profile, is, 3 to 5x. And at this stage, we don't know if we can achieve that. Or just by the nature of this business, which is an arguably great business, it's not going to make as much sense as me allocating this capital to a slightly earlier stage company that's growing at this different rate. And they'll kind of like show their cards a little bit and have a grown-up conversation. Because then if it's authentic and real, if the founder wants to feel hurt, then it's kind of on them. Whereas if the investor is fucking bullshitting them, which the founder will always feel, at least subconsciously, that's when I think the relationships go awry. And so the investors, while they think they're helping themselves from hiding their true motivations or hesitations about the business themselves.
Yeah, or keeping optionality of like, I can convince my team to invest now. Yeah.
I think that they're actually damaging their reputation with the best founders who will smell bullshit a mile away. So again, I've seen just time and time again, the best investors, the top 1% or 2%, they're more than confident to say, this is a little early. We'd like a little bit more proof on this. We like this and this, but this I'm a little concerned about. We'd like to get to know you a little bit longer. And it's just a chill thing. Or this is not for us because we only do this other thing. But as soon as you start laying all the like, you're fucking amazing, and I'd do anything to work with you, but for some reason I'm not investing in you, absolute bullshit. That's still 80%, 90% of investors, which is really, really surprising. And it's just because I think a lot of investors don't have experience managing people. When you manage people and you have to give hard feedback and you have to build rapport with people who want to follow you and work with you, even though you told them things that they didn't want to hear, you quickly learn just the authenticity pays and bullshit doesn't. And I just don't think that they've had that experience. I will admit that it's very easy for me to say that on the founder side of the table, who doesn't have to maintain optionality and doesn't have to maintain their reputation amongst immature founders who are going to badmouth you no matter what you say. So I actually know it's fucking hard, but I will say that despite how hard it is, some investors can do it. And I think they're the fucking legends. I've met some of them and I'm just so impressed with them. Like I would, if I was raising money again for this business, another business, I would go straight back to those people because they're real. And I'd love if the world kind of knew more about them. And one of the insidious and shitty parts of just the overall dynamic here is that there's always a new batch of founders that don't have the experience that I have, that don't know it can be a different way. And they'll fall for the bullshit. And they don't have the standing and ability to tell investors to go fuck themselves if they misbehave. So the bad patterns perpetuate.
So should I tell someone to go fuck themselves, or
probably,
is it?
Yeah.
But
no, I'm just kidding.
Or do you?
Unless if there's a reason to, yeah. But what I'm saying is, what are the various reasons you won't invest? Sometimes you just think you just don't see the opportunity there.
Yeah. So this is like giving a data point. It's just like
here's literally the conversation I would try to have. And if you had 100 of these conversations, I guarantee it's going to resonate with all the right people. They're going to come back to you.
Yeah.
I would say I'm trying this new form of feedback and communication with founders that basically no investors do, because they're all trying to maintain option value, and it encourages them to bullshit founders. And I really don't want to do that. And I'll admit that I've been there a little bit, because sometimes it just doesn't pay to be really real. But I'm not going to do that anymore. And I'm going to try and build a reputation that is based on authenticity. And so here's what I think your business. I think you're very compelling. I think that you really believe in what you're doing, and you're smart, and I've enjoyed my conversations with you. And I really hope that despite what I'm about to say, you'll talk to me again. I think that the way you're currently configuring the business, it's just a little odd for what we've seen before. And that could mean that either I'm super wrong and it's an incredible opportunity, and I'm really close-minded and you're going to make a fortune without me. Or maybe if I'm lucky, you'll come back in the next round. Or it could possibly mean that you need to make a little adjustment and you'll figure this out. And I've seen it before with great founders like you who are slightly misconfigured, who go to market in the wrong way, learn and change, have incredible success. And so for me, who can only make a small number of investments, I have this limited size fund. These are the check sizes are right. You know, I'm really only going to make one investment every month. I can't get comfortable when I think that that's the wrong thing. And either you're right or I'm right. It doesn't really matter, but that's where I'm at. And I hope that me being real with you will win some trust such that when you're raising again, you'll come back. And maybe it won't. And I guarantee that the best people will be like, okay, I've actually never heard that before.
Yeah, that's pretty hard to argue with. Yeah.
Like, thank you. Some people will be like, fuck you, whatever, but they're not the right people at all.
Yeah.
The best people will be like, I really like that authenticity.
Because if you talk about the other 80, 90%, they don't even get this. It might be the first time someone actually said that to them.
I guarantee if you do that, you'll be most times the only person that does that. I guarantee it. Because the types of investors I meet now are way more experienced, they're later stage, great firms. So they've learned to do this. The early stage guys haven't even learned that. So I think it's a secret weapon, just radical transparency, directness, authenticity. You could build a whole brand around that, in my opinion. But again, easy for me to say from this side of the table. Wish you the best of luck with that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think at the end of the day, that probably sounds easier than
it's hard
building an AI company from the ground up.
Well, no, I think it's all hard. Listen, your dollars are the exact same color as everyone else's. Yeah, but somehow people have to choose your ones. Somehow. And there are now countless idiots with green money. Countless.
Yeah.
You and I could never list them. ChatGPT could never list them. And so you really got to be careful when you're building that reputation. And so that conversation is easy to have when a smart ass is talking on a podcast. Yeah. But in real life, it's difficult. But having said that, I think it's an opportunity.
Interesting. Okay. It's good to reflect on. I do try to give as much feedback as I can, but to your point, it's hard to do it at scale, in a kind way. Sure. Everyone. Totally. Things definitely do fall through the cracks.
Yeah. But that's where the legends are the legends.
Yeah. I like that though. It's good motivation. It's good food for thought.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, really fun.
And I hope you had fun. A quick thanks to Ramp for supporting this episode. Head to ramp.com/thepeel for $250 on your first set of cards. If you missed it, make sure to check out last week's episode with Albert Azut from Level Ventures on how to actually generate alpha in venture capital. Tune in next week for Dan Fader, who runs private market investing for the University of Michigan's endowment. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like, comment, subscribe, and name your next internal AI model after me. If you don't want to miss a future episode, subscribe to my newsletter, The Split, linked in the description to get each episode plus a transcript emailed directly to your inbox every week. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.